Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Raise the Vibe with Liz. I'm your host, Liz Peterson, and today I'm welcoming back Serena Curran, and we're going to be talking all about emotional manipulation through fear. And I know that's really happening right now. I remember being in Honolulu a year ago and sitting there waiting for my to-go food and watching the news and an anchor woman setting up her story with choice words and one thing implying another and stirring the pot, so to speak. And being blown away, I was looking forward to this conversation with Serena, but let me tell you a little bit about her really quick. Serena Curran, MBA, leading edge spiritual teacher, healer, and creator of the Recreation Code for Innovative Manifesting and the Soul Wealth Map for Ultimate Soul Alignment, is also a reinvention expert, Akashic Record Guide, and free spirit. With over 25 years of experience, she fulfills her mission by helping spiritually oriented women create freedom, money, and ease by designing and building soul-aligned businesses that tap into their genius and express their spiritual gifts found in the Akashic Records. In her work with her clients, she draws upon her training, her education, her experience as a serial international entrepreneur, her background in sales, marketing, and manifestation expertise, energetic activations, and healing and one-on-one mentoring programs to assist her clients in achieving prosperity by soul design. Serena, welcome to the show. Welcome back.
Thank you so much, Liz. It's such a pleasure to be here. It's always so much fun to have a chat with you about what's going on and what we can do to help ourselves to be able to flow with and to function and be able to create wealth for ourselves and our business and our lives.
I agree. And you and I got into a conversation after something I posted online, and I prompted, do you want to go and discuss this? So why don't we jump right in and talk about this fear that's used as a doorway to manipulate?
Yeah. So, our brains are hardwired to react to fear, right?
Right.
This is how we have survived. And we know that people can get stuck in flight or fear of flight, or flight or sorry, can get stuck in this place of fear. And that right now there's a lot of media that is using fear to be able to get a hold of people, to get them to do things in a certain way, to manipulate them. So it's so easy because your brain, like you can get triggered and you don't even know that you've been triggered with fear. And so your brain can easily be hijacked. And so this is part of the problem we have. I was, as you were saying, in Honolulu, I was in New York City at one point, and I was observing what was happening, and I was hearing something completely different on the news, something that would generate fear. And so I'm not saying that all news is fear generating, but there's a great portion of it out there that creates fear and then leads people in a certain direction.
Yeah, it really is disappointing how we can flip on the media, and it can be different wherever you are in the country, right? Yeah. It can be different, whatever news station you're listening to. Everybody's got their own scripts, so to speak. So how do we not fall for these things?
Yeah, so, well, there's a number of things we can do, but first of all, let me talk a little bit more about how our brains get hijacked.
Let's talk about that.
Because the pandemic itself created fear, and it created isolation, it created uncertainty and a lack of community. And so people really need community, and so they get drawn to certain things. And some of the conspiracy theory type things, or things like QAnon, actually took advantage of this. So what they do is they draw you in with something that's emotionally charged that you can easily agree with, right? So, for example, one of the things that's been used is sex trafficking. And this is being used by white nationalists. It's being used by QAnon. It's being used by a number of organizations. So it isn't, one group. But they'll draw you in with this idea. Nobody wants children's sex trafficked, right? So you go, yeah, I totally agree with this. I want to protect children. So they start the manipulation with a core truth, the one that you can say yes to. And then they gain power over you because you're sourcing outside of yourself. And safety doesn't come from externals, but what they do is once they've got you in there in the group, they start leaving little breadcrumbs away from reality. And for example, QAnon was designed as a game, right? So, we have this brain that has this creative power to discover patterns. And we love doing that, right? This is how we survive, is we look at different things and we figure out the patterns that go together with it. So what they do is they give you little breadcrumbs, and they give you a little, like a guide to make certain connections. And when you make those connections, it's true because you made the connection. So this is how they hijack your brain. So let's just say it again. They bring you in with something that you can agree with. They give you breadcrumbs and give you guidance on how to connect them. That's taking advantage of your brain. And then the next thing you know, you're in this other reality. Your brain has been hijacked.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's dissect it a little bit further. And why is our brain hardwired to react to that fear?
Because this is how we survive, in the wilds when we were out hunting and so on, we want to react very quickly. If there's an animal that's going to attack us or there's some kind of other danger, it's meant to keep us safe. That's what the fear is for. It's meant to keep us safe. It's meant to be a guide to, what direction we should move in. But it also can leave us vulnerable if we don't deal with our own fears, if we allow ourselves to be just running on fear, and particularly people who have been traumatized. And we live in a traumatizing society, so I'm pretty sure everybody's got trauma, but you can get stuck in flight or fight, and so then you're even more susceptible to being manipulated because you're already in that fear. And then somebody says, well, should be afraid of this. And then they go, oh yeah, that too. And then they just start adding on. And so it's about connecting with yourself and really creating safety for yourself is how you actually begin to work with this, and connecting with your body and learning to respond to your own emotions. If you're feeling fearful, instead of just leaving yourself in that energy, is actually really digging in and figuring out, what am I afraid of? And what is the trigger behind this? And so it's about self-awareness and working with yourself in order to not allow yourself to be hijacked.
Yeah, can we talk a little bit? This is one of my favorite topics, triggers, because we can so easily get triggered. And when we're set up in a scenario like the pandemic, where we're being put in a space of fear,
right?
We're in our amygdala, we're in fight or flight. It's really hard to stay grounded and centered when you're in that space. So let's talk a little bit about those triggers, recognizing them, and how we can work with them.
Yeah, so right, the first thing that comes to me right away is the first thought is, ask yourself, where do you really stand with the universe? Do you think that we live in a benevolent universe, or do you think we're in a place where you're in danger all the time? So ask yourself that question, because if you already know that we're in a benevolent universe, that everything is happening for you, that you are supported and guided and cared for, you already have a safety valve to go to. If you don't live in that space, then when you get triggered and the fear arises, you don't have a place to go that says I'm safe. You don't have a place to say, the universe is going to support me. I'm okay. Or however you frame it up, universe, source, God, creator, whatever you frame it up. So that's a basic question to ask yourself, first of all. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so once you having answered that question, it becomes easier to deal with the fears. So the triggers it's natural to get triggered. Again, it's about awareness. It's about paying attention to what's going on. It's about paying attention to what's going on to your body. And, it's easy to track back in a way what's happening for you. When a fear arises, you can ask, where do you feel it in your body? And connect with that part of your body where you feel it. And you can actually dialogue with the fear and ask it to tell you, what's going on with this? What is this about? You can do things like draw or paint it. You can write in your journal about it. One of the easy ways of journaling about it is to explain it in 5 different senses. how does it taste, feel, smell? What color is it? What does it sound like? And as you do that, you're connecting with the fear. It gets to move. The whole idea is to get it to move so that you're not stuck in it.
What about getting caught up in that language? Because people can use choice words and things that kind of stir the pot. So what about those trigger words that kind of hook us in to whatever's going on?
Yeah. What do you mean by trigger words? I'm not really clear on that.
When we're watching the news and they're saying choice words, about this party or that party, or trying to trigger our sensitivities or something like that, and kind of hook us into the conversation. So I guess another question would be, if we find ourselves hooked into these things that are causing us fear or anger or discomfort, how do we unhook ourselves?
Well, I think that, one of the things that you can notice right away is sometimes you'll be watching the news and the anchor themselves are really being emotive and angry and, inviting you to join them in their party of their anger party. Mm-hmm. That's a warning sign right there that you're in the wrong place, because they should not be trying to generate fear. So if you're listening to somebody who's trying to generate fear, this is time to remove yourself from that experience. That is one way of protecting yourself. It's just being aware of where these people are coming from. And if you have a lot of anger and they're triggering your anger, you own it. This is the other, the other part of this is own your own anger. And go ahead and do what I said for the fear. Do the same thing for your anger. Get in touch with it. What am I really angry about? What is this really? Is it? What's the truth of this matter? So I think anger is a lot of what we see associated with the fear is anger about being put in this position, or don't tell me what to do. And defining what sovereignty really is. It's really about going within and making your own decisions from within yourself. It's not about what somebody else is, some rule that somebody is establishing. And so if you find yourself overreacting to anything or having a strong reaction to anything, this is a warning sign to stop and take a look at what is going on with you. What is going on with you? Because yes, you may have real anger, but there's somebody outside of you that's triggering it, then it's time for you to look and see what the trigger is within inside of you.
Gosh, that's so true. How can we find ourselves and really step into the self-empowered place and find our sovereignty with all of this craziness that's been going on?
Well, I actually teach this, and I teach this. This is the new paradigm of doing business, and it's a new paradigm of living, and that is to stop looking outside yourself, depending on someone else to provide you with solutions, and yes. that you stop looking for somebody else to tell you what your next right actions are. Stop looking for somebody else to tell you how you should feel about something, or how it should play out, or what you should be angry about. Come back to connecting with yourself, connecting with your safety, which is really within yourself. That's how you gain your power back, is by connecting back more deeply to your own heart and soul. And, one of the things I do, which is pretty simple, which is in the morning, when I begin my day, I do allow myself to let go of any energies that don't belong to me and that are no longer serving my highest good, and to call back all of my energy from any place that I've left it, any time, space, place, dimension, because when we dream, we are traveling all over the place, and call back my own energy. So that's one thing, is like making sure that you're not carrying somebody else's energy, disconnecting from hooks and things like that. But also, one of the things I do is I just imagine not my energy, but I imagine myself expanding out and connecting with the cosmos. And let me tell you, when you do that and you feel that connection with the cosmos, you feel safe. You automatically feel safe. And connecting with the earth, allowing yourself to really connect with the earth and feeling the earth, feeling the chair around you, feeling the support that is actually physically around you, can help calm your nervous system and calm you and bring you into a place of safety.
Right. And how do we set aside these breadcrumbs that have been laid out for us? Because there's a lot of uncertainty, over the last couple of years, and people they're questioning, right? And we can find ourselves, people can find themselves kind of sucked in to these different narratives, right?
Yeah, that's the name of the game, is trying to suck people in those different narratives. But always go back to your body. How does it feel in your body? Does this feel good to me, or does this feel yummy, or does this feel yucky? Come back to your body and feeling in your body. And if you aren't able to feel in your body right now, start to practice feeling in your body until you're able to actually feel in your body what the truth of the matter is. That's your guidepost. If this does not feel good to your body is telling you this is not for you. And this is not the truth. So that's one way of doing it. The other part of this, this hijacking of your brain is that once you get in these groups, the players are actually creating the story. It's like a self-generating story. It's kind of weird in a way, because what they do is they've set it up socially. So the most thrilling, engaging, and entertaining stories get amplified. And so that also, your brain is like, wow, look at that. That's really cool. I'm in on the secret. That's part of the mystery. I solved this problem. And so notice whether you're having that kind of experience or not. Am I feeling like I'm participating here, and I'm creating a story, and and this is a game, and check in again with your body, get grounded and check in with your body. Where am I at with this? Is this the truth or not?
Right.
Keep coming back, to your body.
I think we all have a lot of past life fears that come up too. And I honestly think that a lot of these leaders, they're initially, being jump started, I guess I would say, by their own fear.
Right.
Right. And then they start their narrative, and then they start rallying everybody on their corner. Well, look at this. Well, look at that. And how about this? And how about that? So let's talk about that a little
absolutely.
bit.
I mean, I think that, everyone's unhealed parts of themselves are playing out. And when a leader is very unhealed and calls to themselves other people that are unhealed, it's a problem. So it always goes back to, if you want to change the world, the place that you start is with yourself. And you start with healing yourself. And that starts with connecting with yourself and connecting with your soul, processing your emotions, consciously aligning with your soul. These are the things that I teach.
Gosh. So I want to take this back to sovereignty and personal empowerment. We were talking about this, before we started, and how important it is, because it really is, it's this new paradigm. It's stepping out of the old paradigm and into the new. So let's jump into that a little bit.
Yeah, that's what one of the things I'm here about is helping to create this new paradigm. And guess what? We're creating the future. I work with the Akashic Records, and one of the things that I want people to know is that right in this moment, with your own thoughts, but I don't mean random thoughts like it's often taught, but let's say the stories you tell yourself repetitively, or your beliefs, the emotions you entertain, and most importantly, the actions you take are actually being written in the records right in this minute. And that writing in the records is what will be the basis for your future. So, wow, is that a powerful position to be in?
Wow.
Absolutely. And so it's also true of creating the world we want to see, the way that business should run and how we should interact with each other. We are creating that by our actions. So, for example, I did a live yesterday, and what I talked about was, where are you spending your money? Are you choosing to spend your money with companies whose values you are aligned with? This is how you create the future that you want to see. If you want to see your values living out in the world, then put your money where you're in alignment with those values. And that's part of being a sovereign being, but being a sovereign being to me, and having ultimate freedom, is, again, creating safety for yourself, processing your own emotions, connecting with your own intuition, finding your own answers, finding your own solutions, charting your own path forward. So if you're in business and you're able to, you've been able to create your own sovereignty for yourself, you don't have to be fearful or afraid, because you're always going to be able to find the answer within yourself. You see, this is part of that fear thing. Instead of trying to get those answers outside of yourself, come back in and get the answers inside. That's sovereignty. That's ultimate freedom. That's a new paradigm way of doing things. That's our only way forward at this point. If we continue to source our outside of ourselves, what this one tells me or that one tells me, another one tells me I should be doing, there's just going to be confusion. So there's only going to be, you've got to connect with your own soul and your own being in order to move forward. That's what I consider sovereignty.
And for someone who's been depending on outside sources their whole life and not looking in, what advice do you have for them?
Yeah, well, begin, start, start, and be assured that this is where you will find your safety and your ability to go forward. So if you've never spent any time connecting with yourself, just get quiet and spend 5 minutes. Don't even make it any longer than that. And just spend 5 minutes feeling your own self, feeling your own body, feeling what's coming up for you right now. Put your hand over your heart and ask what you're feeling. And just continue to do this until you break through, because you may not in the beginning be able to actually connect, but you will connect. And this will be the only way that you can find your way forward that's going to feel good to you. It's through your own heart and your own soul.
And I think that when we're in that space, it's easier to recognize when there's an emotional charge, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're not connected to yourself, you're not connected to your body, you really have no guidance. You have no navigation system. You have no way of knowing what direction to follow. And this is when you wind up saying, okay, well, I'll follow that person, or I'll believe this person, or I'll believe that person, because you don't have a guidance system. So you really do need to create that guidance system by connecting with yourself and learn. And it's a learning process. If you've never done any of these things, then it takes a little bit of time. It can't be done in a day. It does take a little bit of time to be able to do that, but this is where your safety is. This is where your guidance is. This is where your navigation is. This is how, no matter what is happening outside of you, you will know what way to go forward for yourself. How important is that? Can there be anything more important than that, than being able to navigate through chaotic times? Because that's what we're in right now. We're in a big shift, and so it's a lot of chaos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and having the opportunity to take the time to learn that deep listening skill.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Just start there, and and then start to read, find books, get connected, work with someone like myself who shows you how to do these things. Find the path that is right for you, but get started, because the sooner you start, the sooner you'll be able to create your own safety and your own forward motion. Mm-hmm. And really in the new paradigm of business, this sovereignty, this soul directed actions, inspiration is how you open the flow of money, and how you are able then to contribute to, because when you have more money, you're able to have a little more impact, and you can actually contribute. We always are contributing to the community, to the world, by our own energies and actions, but you can create a bigger opportunity for you to have some impact and create the world that you want to see happen.
Well, that is sure alluring. So how do we do that? How do we open the flow of money?
Well,
explain the process of that.
Yeah. Well, you open the flow of money by being connected with your soul, by dialoguing with your soul, by knowing how to listen to your body, to your intuition, by asking the right questions. This is another thing that people do, is they ask the wrong questions. It's not like, why is this happening to me? It's not a good question. There may or may not be an answer to that. It doesn't really move you forward, but what would be my next best steps to take would be a a more powerful question, or how can I resolve this situation most easily? So asking the questions, waiting, listening for the answers, taking the answers, creating action out of them, because without action, there's nothing, and taking action. So this is how you create the flow of money. You get that safety, you process your emotions, you connect with your intuition, you open your receptivity, you connect with your soul, you ask the right questions, you listen, and you follow the trail. And that's how the flow of money opens up.
Right.
It isn't a magic wand.
A lot of people can get tripped up though. I mean, it sounds so easy, but when we start, we pause and we start looking at ourselves, it even comes up like, what are we thinking on a daily basis? When you pass by the mirror or you pass by a person or something like that, there's this inner dialogue, that can happen. And I'm sure that plays a role in it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, inner dialogue is important. I call that the stories you tell yourself. So, sit down and write out the story you're telling yourself, and then rewrite the story. Because like I said, you're writing in your records, you're writing your future in your records. So if you're telling yourself a story that's disempowering, stop and rewrite the story and tell yourself an empowering story, and tell yourself you're safe and that you're guided and that you're protected, and that, you can find the easy path is available to you, and all things are possible, and abundance is your birthright. And what are you telling yourself? This is the story. And rewrite your story. I've always said, just as there was a movie years ago called Rashomon. It's actually a classic movie, but in Rashomon, three people see the same event, and each one of them tells a different story about what took place. So remember that stories aren't real. They're just something we made up.
Yeah,
and so if you're telling yourself a disempowering story, stop doing that and tell yourself an empowering story, because you have in this moment to do that. So that's what I would say about that. And yeah, we can have those conversations with ourselves. And I will say, and I want to be really clear here, that there are a lot of people that have unresolved trauma. And it is not trivial to work with that. Symptoms of that are things like doing the things over again, getting instructions from somebody and not being able to process them. Your brain is miswired, and it's taking you off on another trail. And that does take some real effort to work with, and some guidance to work with that. So if you've tried all of these things and you still find that you're not able to have your business flow or your life flow, then think about whether there's some unresolved trauma. And you can, again, go back and through that process of how you work with your emotions, of noticing that you have this particular thing that's happening, and asking yourself, when was the first time this ever happened to me? Or did someone tell me something that made me think I couldn't accomplish this, or I wasn't able to accomplish this? And it almost invariably goes back to childhood. So inner child work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that work is oh so important, because it overlays everything that we do in our life.
Yeah, it's often the beliefs that we've absorbed can't come from when we were young and people told us certain things. So just, if you're having issues around money, what were you told about money? What was the common thing about money? And of course, belief work, I always like Byron Katie's work, where you just ask, is this true? Can I know that this is really true? It's just 4 questions. Can I know this is really true? I've forgotten the 4 questions. And then you do a reversal of the questions, but it's all online if anybody wants to look at that, so that you work with beliefs and you know that belief, again, is just a story that somebody made up. And we can change those beliefs as well. We're going along a lot of different trails here, but it is really about, in the bottom line, it's really about coming back into connection with yourself. And coming back in connection with your own heart, and coming back in connection with your own soul. It's about your relationship with yourself. and building that relationship to be a loving and kind relationship. And then you won't allow yourself to go off on all these other trails of being triggered, and you'll have the wherewithal to be able to respond to that, to realize that you're being hijacked.
Right. And once you realize it, you can break it down and work with it. Oh, this triggered me. It triggered this emotion in me. When I get this emotion, this is how I want to react.
Yeah.
This is my perspective. Gosh, and that really, it takes me back to what you said about the Rashomon movie that you said, where 3 different people, they
Rashomon.
each had their own perspective. I think that is key to not allowing our brain to get hijacked too, is that we're all seeing life through our own experience. And that's our perspective. My experience is going to be different than, like, I have 4 boys and I had 2 stepchildren, right? Like, they all have different perspectives about what happened in life. I have a different perspective. My friends have different perspectives. Like, we all see it differently. Then we could take one instance, right? And everybody's going to tell a different story about, all 6 of them are going to tell a different story about what happened.
Right. And then you can apply that to the news as well. That every news person is going to be based on their own beliefs, their own, what their intentions are, because some of them have really negative intentions. They're really about wanting power. They're power hungry and they want power and they don't care how they get it. So the same thing is that each of those stories that they're telling, well, may or may not have any truth, may have some truth in them, and then other things may not be true, and they may be intentionally misleading, or they may not be intentionally at all misleading, and they aren't really misleading. They're just seeing it in a different way than you would see it if you were in the same place. Mm-hmm. So that leads us back to, well, what do I do? What do I do? Everybody's got a different perspective. Everybody's got a different idea. The news people, or some are manipulative, some of them are, being honest. What do I do? You go back to yourself, back to your own heart, back to your own body, and keep connecting back there for the truth.
Yeah, I agree. We have to recognize too, since everybody's, working out of their triggers, everybody's functioning out of their wounds, right? Whatever their stories were. And I think that's also a key to kind of recognize, you step back, right, from whatever was said, whatever was presented, and you go, okay, where are they functioning from? I think, diving in and starting to ask the questions, not only about ourselves, but of the people who these stories are coming from.
Yeah, it says that, if we recognize that people are wounded and if they act out of their wounds, then we can have more compassion for others. And we're lacking in compassion for others. And so just starting to say, whenever you hear someone saying something angry, or can I have compassion for this person who is wounded? Can I have compassion for myself, for my own wounds? So bringing compassion into the equation, really important.
And it gives us, not only is that compassion and love, peace and understanding for the person and where they're coming from, when we're dealing with these organizations like QAnon and, other, media and stuff like that, that are trying to stir the pot, it's really a pulling back of ourselves from the story, from the narrative.
Right.
It's like seeing the bigger picture, yes, have compassion, but try to see the bigger picture as well, right? And I'm thinking that could help us come out of that fear space as well.
Yeah. Yes. Connecting with the bigger picture. Remember, we're in a giant cosmos and that we don't understand everything that's happening, that, we're just seeing a little piece of it, and we don't have to get so bound to it that this is all that is in our reality, because there is a bigger image, a bigger reality going on. When it goes back to QAnon, some people, once they get hijacked, to get them out of that it's like a cult. It's almost, it takes a special experience to get them out of it. So there's this cult aspect of it. And I just read about a father who killed his 2 children. He got into QAnon very deeply, 8-month-old and a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. And he got into QAnon very, very deeply. And he got so frightened by the conspiracy theories that he didn't want his children to be in the world because it was too scary. So that's the really dark side of this cult kind of thing. Sorry to bring that up. It's the really dark side of this cult kind of thing. So, and also to remember to have compassion for this man who actually lost his mind. He basically lost his mind, and he lost his family as a consequence of losing his mind, and probably lost his liberty.
Yeah, to be so in fear
Right.
that you would go to that length.
Yeah. So, again, not trying to scare anybody, but it's really important for you to connect with your safety, your own safety. And it's really important to nurture your own sovereignty and to begin that process wherever you're at, and to continue to do it. And if you find yourself having difficulties doing it, to get help doing it.
Yeah. And to recognize when we're in fight or flight, or when we're making decisions from that space.
Oh, yeah. Like making decisions from a place of fear is like the worst place you can make a decision from. It's never going to work out right. So that goes into fear and the scarcity, and things aren't, all of those things. So if you've got a decision in front of you, really check in and see, am I being fearful about this? Is there some fear inside of me? And again, go back and process these fears. Don't allow yourself to make a decision based on fear. It will not work out for you. And
it's hard enough to make a decision, when you are in your sovereignty and you're grounded and centered sometimes, right? Yes. And I like that rule. Don't make any decisions when you're angry, when you're in fear, when you're grieving.
Yeah. And don't open your mouth. I mean, this is the one thing about anger, is that a lot of times people feel like I'm justified to be angry. And so it's okay for me to blow it all over everyone.
Yeah.
No. Your anger belongs to you. It's your trigger. And the first thing to do there is don't blow it on anybody else. Just stop and go for a walk, run up and down a hill, ride a bicycle, go swimming, do whatever you need to do. People like to use a baseball bat on a bed, whatever you need to do to release that anger, and then go in and really investigate, where did this come from? And what is this about? But don't blow it on anybody else. That's inappropriate.
Yeah.
To say the least.
I agree.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page on these things. And I think, we started out to talk about brains getting hijacked, because it's pretty scary that there's there's media that's intentionally using brainwashing techniques, is intentionally trying to hijack people's brains. And unfortunately, some of these are so-called news stations, and people that get brainwashed listen to them all day long, every day, and they're getting brainwashed. And I remember being in a store one day, and somebody had on the radio one of these stations, and what I noticed about it was they kept repeating the same thing over and over again, over and over again, over and over again, over and over again. That's a cue. If somebody's doing that, that's a cue. They are trying to brainwash you.
Yeah, and the escalated emotions.
Yes, escalated emotions.
This is happening over here and over there.
Yeah, I know, it's so terrible.
And they are doing this and that and the other.
The othering thing. They're so bad. They did this, they did that. Yeah. So there's cues that there's 3 we've just talked about, which is, are they being repetitive in what they're saying? Are they expressing outrage and emotion and anger? Are they being self-righteous? That's another one. There's these self-righteous people, like, I know the answers and nobody else knows the answers. And what was the last one? I lost it. But these are all signs or cues that you're in the wrong place, and that you're exposing yourself to something that has the potential to entrap you. And you don't want to be doing that.
I liked what you said about community too, because people are group focused. They want to be part of the group. They want to be accepted.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And so, and that's truly what part of this was with these conspiracy theory groups is, oh, I'm part of the in crowd, I'm part of the community. So look, know that about ourselves, that we all need community. And so provide that for yourself in a positive manner, and sit down and really brainstorm, how can I create community for myself. It's much easier now. We had a period of time when everybody had to stay in and all of that stuff, the before time. And so really knowing that community is really important, and making sure that you're choosing community that really is a positive influence for you. If you find yourself getting depressed, discouraged, feeling down, or anxious because you're part of a certain community, that's not a community for you. And that is another thing that happens. This is why we have all these tribes and all this. I don't want to use the word tribes. That's not, the Native Americans don't care for us to use that. But these, let's call them circles of people, that I'm in this circle and this is my circle and that circle, and our circles aren't going to touch. To really look at whatever circle you're in, whether it's permeate, whether it's, what the word I want to say, accepting enough that it can allow you to be in another circle if you want to be, or if that's right for you. If you've in a circle that has created a boundary that says you only can be in this circle, and if you violate our rules in our circle, we're going to put you out. This is not a circle you want to be in. You want a circle that says, we love having you. We accept you as you are, and we accept what you have to say, and we value your contribution. These are the circles you want to be in.
Yeah,
so that's another cue.
Yeah. I'm glad that you pointed that out, Serena, because it's really important to surround yourself with people, you can have dialogue with.
Yes.
That it's not black and white. It's not one way is the right way, that you can have these conversations and people can have their own opinions and beliefs and be a sovereign being and be accepted by the other person who's listening, right? And vice versa.
Right. Yeah, Liz, that was how we got connected, because you were very open to having a conversation, and we dialogued about something. Neither one of us was, we dialogued about the topic, and didn't mean we came to any necessary conclusion. We just came to an understanding of where each of us was at. That's really all it's needed. Do I understand?
I really appreciated that, Serena. I want to thank you again for that, because you don't see that all the time on social media. No. Sometimes, you get attacked, right? And I really appreciate
it. Liz, I felt the same way. I felt, wow, this is really great. And what I would like to say is this should not be the exception.
Yeah, I think it should be the rule.
And yet, as it was for both of us, like, wow, this was really cool.
And that's what we need to step into this new paradigm, right? Is be able to listen to each other.
Yes. This is the thing about the circles of, like, is your circle flexible enough that it allows you don't have to maintain a certain way of thinking or being or anything else to be in the circle. You're in the circle because we value you as a human being. We value your heart. We value your contribution, what you have to say. Now, I don't know. I'm going to say that these kinds of circles will be few and far between, but they're there. So, and if you don't have one, create one.
Yeah. I think, we have to be watchful of these things. As they say, you are what you eat, right? We are what we watch. We are what we, surround ourselves with.
Well, yeah. Well, knowing that your brain can be hijacked, not because it's just because of the way it functions, the way your brain functions. It likes to make patterns. It likes to create, solve riddles. It likes to be involved with mystery. It's curious, it wants community, because our brains work in a certain way. We need to be mindful of what we expose ourselves to that might take advantage of those beautiful qualities of our brain that we absolutely need, but can be manipulated by people who choose to do that.
Yeah, not only can we get, drawn in by the positive things that are happening to our lives, but the negative things, also, gossip and all the secrets and the mystery and, those things that have unbeknownst to us, a negative spin to them, right? Or it could
Yeah.
be unbeknownst to us,
Yeah.
it's obvious, but
Yeah.
yeah, if you're
That's
doing
funny
that.
because I was out the other night and I noticed this woman that was doing drama. She came over and she wanted to let everybody know that some guy had asked for her phone number. And it's like, well, what should I do? What should I do? I'm going to have to think about how I should answer him. And myself and one other person said, the answer is no. If you don't want to give him the number, that's it. No, there's no more discussion about this. But there was this desire to create a story and a drama. And so look at that too. Do you like to create drama in your life? Because it's no fun to live in drama. It's not peaceful to be in drama. But when you look at something and you're going to create a story about it, do you create this whole big drama around it or do you just see what it is, perceive it, and choose a peaceful story around it? Your choice. You see, we're way more a choice than people realize about what our experience is, what we allow in, how we operate, our own sovereignty, our ability to create our future by what we write in our records right this minute, and our ability to open to the flow of money and to the other things that create a wealthy life are all available to us. What we need to learn that how to lead ourselves, how to work with our own humanness, and how to bring our soul down into our being so that we're guided by our soul.
Yeah. And as soon as we recognize that we're getting triggered or we're getting an emotional charge, to step back and go, okay,
take a breath. And by the way, there's a real simple thing you can do if you've gotten triggered and your emotions are pretty high, is there's a thing called circular breathing. And you can do it anytime. So you get angry, all you have to do is breathe in and breathe out slowly without stopping, and just continue circular breathing, and it will calm your nervous system and bring you back into a place where you can actually function. Because when you're in high gear of drama or anger or high gear of fear, you're not really able to function very well. You're not functioning to your full capacity. It's only when you're fully present and you're in that feeling of safety that you're able to really fully function.
Right. And also, if we find ourselves in a situation, where a conversation's not going well, or we're being attacked, or, this, that, or the other, step away.
Yeah, that leads you right into boundaries, which are so incredibly important. They affect every aspect of your life. And I want to state really clearly here, you are entitled to have any boundary you choose for yourself, and you don't have to justify it. So, if you're in a group and you're feeling uncomfortable, you have the right to either say, this is making me uncomfortable, if you choose to address it, or to remove yourself and to not spend time with toxic people. Even if that's family members, you have the right to set any boundary you want. What you do need to do in order to honor a relationship is to communicate that boundary so that it gives the other person an opportunity to respect it if you want the relationship. If they don't respect it, now you've got another choice to make, whether you're going to remind them that they didn't respect it, or you're going to say like, okay, well, this isn't working for me. But walk away from those toxic situations and those toxic relationships. Your life will be so much nicer without them.
Yes. Yes, it will. And I read a recent email that said, you build safety by listening to your own body, by using your intuition and your feelings, and by connecting deeply with your own soul. Extend acceptance and compassion to yourself. Acknowledge your fears and process them.
That feels like a direct quote for me.
Yes. Taken right from your email. I loved it.
Yeah, because that's what I teach, and that's what I guide my clients to do through this process, so that they can be sovereign in their decision making, so they can open the flow of the money, they can grow their business with ease, and then make the contribution they came here to make. We're here with this beautiful soul. What our whole body is about is expressing our soul. This is a vehicle for our soul. So without our soul, we're not here. So clearly our purpose here is to express our soul. And unless we make this, and because each of us is unique and came here with our own special gifts and talents, we each have a contribution to make, and we need everyone's contribution. It's like a puzzle, a little piece of the puzzle, or a mosaic, that you're a part of a mosaic, and we need all the little pieces to fit into the mosaic. So this is how you make your contribution, by connecting with yourself, by creating sovereignty and leading yourself to bring that contribution to the world that we all need you to bring.
Yay. Well said, Serena. And I want to bring it all the way back to the beginning too, where you said, we are creating our Akashic records with everything we do. I'm going to sum that part up, but I love that. Like, we are creating our experience.
We are creating our future right this minute. And I want to say what Akashic Records are in case someone doesn't know what they are. Sure. And I know you did a show on it recently. But the Akashic Records are a record of your soul, and it's everything that's ever happened to your soul. So you can have things in there that create problems from the past, et cetera, et cetera. But right now, in this moment, you're creating part of that record by, as I said, by the stories you tell, the beliefs you hold, the feelings that the signature feelings that you're generating. This isn't about this spiritual bypassing stuff, but the signature feelings that you're sending out and the actions you're taking, you're actually writing your record right this minute. You're writing your future right now. And so, because it's like it's a blueprint. It's like, a table has a blueprint, a house has a blueprint. Your future has a blueprint, and you're writing it. You're making your own blueprint. Wow. I love it.
I love that.
I totally love that.
And I think if we all function from that space, the world would be a way different space.
Exactly. Yeah. Because what do you want in there? Do you want all that anger and all that other stuff creating things in your records? Do you want all that? No, you don't want that. You want peace. You want love and kindness. You want compassion. You want to be saying, and first off, extending all of that to yourself, because we are often very hard on ourselves. Forgiveness, all of these things extended to ourselves. And then this creates our future. And again, and I want to say again, that we also are, all of us, creating our world, our future world. So all this anger and, arguments and all that stuff, all this wounding is actually creating our overall, our big world. And so let our contribution be one that will create the world that we want to live in, not one that we wish we didn't have to be part of.
I love that, Serena. I think that's so important to point out. Like, collectively, we are creating our experience.
Yep. Collectively, we are creating our experience. And we see this right now. I guess we can, say that this amazing unification of people. And I don't know all the ins and outs or what the politics is or what the other things are, but let's just say on the surface of it, that there's been this unification to stand with these people who are fighting for their homeland. And these people they're like a beacon. Why are they a beacon? Because they are making choices that say, we are standing for our homeland and we will do this no matter what. They're creating a different future. If they had folded 10 days ago, we would not be seeing unification in the world. I'm getting chills on that, by the way. So this is really important, that we get the experience that we can work together. And we can say that some behaviors are not tolerable. Unfortunately, there's war associated with this, but let's just say we're also setting a boundary that certain behaviors are not okay, and that the world is saying this together. That's a shift. That's a huge shift. Let's acknowledge that and say, yay, we're moving in the right direction. And we have to say that has to do with the leadership also of someone who could have the vision to say, we must work together and put the effort in the background to make that happen.
Yeah, we have to come together to make the world a better place, for sure.
Yeah. And so, that's what it looks like.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. I got chills too. It's important. It's part of the process.
Yeah, it's important. And it's a place where we can go, yay, kudos for us.
Yes.
Yay, we're doing it. Oh my God, we're doing it.
I love that, Serena. I can't believe we've already been just talking for an hour. It's flown by so fast.
Oh my goodness, have we really? Yeah.
Isn't that
So
amazing? Is there
yeah, it is.
anything, I mean, what you just said was amazing and beautiful and a great place to end us. But is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we end?
Well, I'd like to say that one of my contributions here is to help people to create that future and to create that new paradigm. And I help mostly spiritual entrepreneurs and change makers and visionaries do this because why? Because they are going to have an opportunity to have a bigger impact as well. So this is how we spread the light and spread the new way of being in our world. And so I have tools and I help people, I walk people through and help them to actually do this. And so I am opening 3 spots for your audience for a complimentary wealth aligned strategy session. And in that session, we'll talk about what's going on, what kind of challenges you got. I'll look and diagnose some things and we'll talk about some possible solutions. And, perhaps that one of those is working with me. We'll see. But I invite you to join me at that. And it's a bit.ly link. It's bit.ly/wealthy soul, because I'm all
Great.
about soul, baby.
Awesome. And we'll get that down in the description as well.
Thank you so
Great,
much.
Serena. How can people reach you?
Yes, they can find me on Facebook. It's Serena Curran 333 is my profile. I mostly am using my profile. And I have a YouTube channel as well, which is, I think, Serena Curran. And, you can find me on IG. I'm not as active there, but you can find there my link tree also. And then my website, serenacurran.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Serena. It's been great having you.
It's been wonderful.
Fantastic conversation. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, you too. Also, Liz, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And thanks everybody for joining us. Again, I'm Liz Peterson. This is Raise the Vibe with Liz. Please look up Serena Curran, serenacurran.com. And you can find me on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Raise the Vibe with Liz. And my website is liz'shealingtouch.com. Thanks everybody. And remember to get out there and raise the vibe. Have a great day, everyone. Goodbye.